Hey everybody, what's up? Mike Miller with Herald Times, columnist Jeremy Price, back again from Miller area here at the center court of Assembly Hall exhibition season.
Back in the saddle again.
Back in the saddle again. I guess where we last left off was Omaha. Or actually, we talked from Chicago a couple weeks ago.
We did.
But we're back at the Hall, back here for the first time since, I guess, that Michigan State game? Was that the last one?
Yeah, I think so.
Been here a few times in between, but getting the new look of the place. Obviously, the banners have moved to the northern end of the place. We have a new fake wall, which is that right there is totally fake. It could get pretty cold here this year, and you got to hope there's no fires at all during games because that could get pretty bad. There's no way out, basically.
I can't recall that I was ever rooting for fires. So
no, but especially now, don't start. Nobody
now.
Better start rooting for fires because they can get pretty hairy. I was really looking forward to this game. A exhibition opener against the University of Ottawa team we saw.
You and everybody else were really building up the anticipation for this.
Building up a game. Yeah, I mean, we saw a really exciting game last year in Montreal when IU was up there on their five game swing of the Montreal area. That was a game, I think, Ottawa won 109, 102, something like that. Really fast-paced, up-tempo game, partially a product of the 24-second clock. But that was also a game. It was a game IU obviously played shorthanded, didn't have size, didn't have Hunter and Pereira on that trip. Just kind of a weird game, but a game that was really up-tempo, exciting, back and forth, tons of three-pointers. That's basically all Ottawa does. I mean, they're coming off 4 or 5 nights ago, shot like 48 three-pointers, and hit like 18 of them. Tonight, I think it was partially a product of fatigue, mostly the fact that they've played 9 games, including 3 in the last 5 days. Wasn't probably the same Ottawa. Was not the same Ottawa team we saw last summer, but still, I think a pretty, in some ways, an instructive look of I guess as good as you can get this time of year in the exhibition season. It's a well-seasoned team, a veteran team, all those things. Just kind of not the same shooting team, but they gave IU a test. They hung around. I think got within 4 points in the first half. Cut it again to 6. Before IU went on a 23-0 run to really put this one away, as they would and should expect to do. A lot of things that we can kind of totally overanalyze from this exhibition.
I think the fact that we're recording this is probably overanalyzing this exhibition.
Yeah, we're just excited to be back.
But it was not really the game that I expected. No. Anyway. It was, I don't know, for the better part of 30 minutes, it was mostly sort of blah.
Yeah, it was. I kind of wrote that it was quintessential November basketball, basically. I mean, there were turnovers, and really, I guess some of those were probably a product of, all the different lineup combinations that were actually out there. I mean, this wasn't a true indication, I don't think, of rotations or matchups or lineups. Although the starting lineup tonight was pretty interesting. It's kind of the one that if you were going to ask me to predict one before the season, before the season. If you were going to ask me to predict one, this is probably the one I'd go with, honestly. We'll see how it kind of pans out. But started Bryant, Bielfeldt, Williams, Blackman, and Farrell. Really more of a traditional look, one that they were not really able to get at all last year. They got some options with this. This also gives them some bench options. Tom Crean afterwards was totally non-committal about whether he would continue to use this. But he's also kind of talked in the past about playing positionless basketball, playing more to matchups, maybe playing more of a pro-style type offense that kind of plays to strengths and skill sets and stuff like that. I don't know, though. We'll see. I mean, this is an interesting look at the lineup, and I think they can do some different, maybe more exciting things, and maybe more well-rounded things, too, with this kind of lineup, too, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But I think that the measure of whether this is a lineup that can stick long-term or not is really 2 things. Defensively, with the bigger lineup, can they successfully defend the floor, especially against teams that are going to spread you out and try and drive you more with Bryant and Bielfeldt? Do they have the ability to cover enough ground to handle things defensively? And then on the offensive end, do Bryant and Bielfeldt give you enough to keep the floor spread and keep your options open, especially when you put those 2 big guys on the floor with Troy Williams, knowing that shooting is not the strength of his game. And, I think much was made of Troy, did show an improved outside shot at Hoosier Hysteria and the like, winning the 3-point contest and that. But as we saw tonight, that's still not something that he's going to do a lot of. I don't think he attempted a 3-pointer tonight. No. I think launched one about 17-footer.
He had a really long 2 that he missed.
And that was it. Other than that, it was the usual Troy Williams around the basket, floaters, follows, transition, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But overall, I think when you go down the minutes and look at the minutes, I think it's a fairly accurate look at the priorities in terms of rotation with this team. Whether the starting lineup remains the same or not, you're still looking at those 5 guys that started, which was Yogi, Blackman, Troy, Max, and Bryant. And then you've got Zeisloft, obviously, Robert Johnson. Those are pretty much your guard options off the bench. And then Hartman played 17 minutes back off the rib injury tonight. I think you're going to see quite a bit out of him. And then, Juwan Morgan only played 10 minutes tonight. I think that's probably a fair expectation for him most nights. I think that sort of slots into that Emmett Holt role from last year,
Yeah, it does.
more or less. And then OG Anunoby, who spent most of his night in foul trouble tonight. I think, he might have 8, 9, 10 minutes, something like that.
This says 8 minutes. Yeah.
So, I mean, if he wasn't in foul trouble, maybe he plays in that 10 to 12 range too. But I think it's going to be, those guys is going to be strictly situational and sort of how the game goes that night for them. Some nights better than others, certainly.
Bryant was Thomas Bryant was he had his moments. He had some not so good moments. Looked like a freshman. Honestly.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like this evening. Defensively, he was forced to kind of spread out a little bit because, as you mentioned, this is an Ottawa team that's kind of their game. They're perimeter guys, and his guy was a 6'6" forward who took nothing but, I guess he took 9 3-pointers, played outside, really kind of just floated around the perimeter mostly. And so that kind of required him to keep his eye on the outside a little bit. So that'll be kind of interesting to watch how, I don't know how often he'll see that during the season, but just to kind of be able to spread and diversify defensively. Offensively, he was in on some offensive rebounds, didn't always have the touch to put him back.
Right.
But, it was an up and down freshman moment, and, again, it's November basketball. I don't know how much you want to overanalyze this, but I think there was probably more good than bad, though, with Thomas Bryant, for sure.
Yeah.
Double, I mean.
Yeah. The efficiency wasn't what you'd like to see, but the activity was what you'd like to see.
Yes, especially that. I mean, I think it's become quite clear through, I guess, Hoosier Hysteria, through some of the other activities we've seen with this team. The guy's just got, even when he's not there, there's going to be energy. There's going to be a desire to kind of get back and make plays and kind of respond for mistakes, which, I don't know how often you actually see that from freshmen, just that willingness and focus to really get back there and not only respond, but make plays. And we see that a lot with Thomas Bryant so far.
Yeah, you see a lot of him asking questions,
Yeah.
talking with Tom Crean on the sidelines. I think Crean got out the board and diagrammed for him a couple of times tonight, kind of where he was supposed to be, how he was supposed to handle different things. And so I think that's a big part of what they've got to work through this year. But he's willing to tackle that, so that's half the battle, really.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. We have one more of these Monday night exhibition against Bellarmine. Ottawa was number 1 in Canada. We found out that today. Their preseason poll in Canada came out. Ottawa's number 1. Bellarmine's number 1 in Division 2. Is that
Division 2, I think it is.
2?
Yeah,
Hope it's Division 2.
we'll double check that.
Yeah, we got a few days. We got like 5 days, 6 days. Next Monday, right?
But they're number 1.
They're number 1. At some level, they're number 1.
There you go.
They're going to give you a different look, I think, than this Ottawa team. It sounds like they're maybe a little more bulky, stronger, physical around the rim. IU won the rebounding battle, obviously, 46-34. And I think that, I guess, Crean was kind of alluding to maybe the numbers were just a little bit misleading. He'd kind of like to see, guys like Williams and Blackman and guys like just have maybe a tougher showing to get some of those balls, maybe get to them more efficiently and consistently. I'm being distracted by our buddy Sam, who's taking a selfie in front of us. But that'll be an area to look for when we return here Monday night against that Bellarmine team, I guess.
Yeah, I think, Indiana's rebounding was good from Bielfeldt, Williams, Bryant, those guys, the guys you would expect to do the rebounding. Didn't get a whole lot. I think Yogi had 5 rebounds. Other than that, not a whole lot from the guards or other wings and what have you. So I think that's what Crean's sort of referring to is wanting to see other guys get involved in that way. But, overall, I think there was some good, some bad. The big takeaway for me was that they did somehow find something in those last 8-9 minutes when they went on that 23-0 run and showed some signs defensively, rebounding, intensity-wise. Just, I don't know, there was a different level of effort extended at that point, and I think that's what this team's got to do in order to get better and to get where it wants to go this year.
That and also finding that identity, I guess, too, which is something they're going to have to kind of piece together as we go along here, especially early on this month and next month, too, as we kind of wade into Big Ten season, just finding that identity that they can kind of call their own, because I'm not really sure this team, as it continues to gel, has that right now.
Right.
It's something they have
right.
to find over these next 8 weeks or so.
Yeah, they do. They do. But, a game-ending run like that, it goes a ways towards showing you that. And I think when these guys now having something on film against somebody else gives them something they're now going to go back and look at and say, okay, this is where we need to get better. This is what we need to do. If we're going to do these things, there's been a lot of talk about the improved defense or renewed focus on defense in this offseason. And then James Blackman post-game, I think he rated IU as a 85 or 90 defensively. I'm guessing the film is going to reveal it's not quite at that level yet, but I guess the fact that they're talking about it is at least a sign that it's on their minds, so you got to start somewhere.
You do. And we started here tonight with this exhibition against Sauta. We'll be back Monday, as we said, Bellarmine, and then season starts November 13th. Is that
That's Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Ooh, spooky.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
See you soon.